To start the recording, we're going to start by recapping what we did in topic number 6. Topic number 6 is about IMC, or Integrated Marketing Communication. This was discussed in class on Saturday, last Saturday. We particularly discussed about two key types of IMC, which were particularly public relations and sales promotions. For the ones who missed that, please make sure you read up the book, and we can always have a discussion on Skype and catch up on this. Today what I want to do is I want to continue from this slide. This is slide number 7. You have your slides ready, available on the Moodle. And this part of the chapter is actually about how you could be using IMC in an international scenario. And particularly, how would you do international advertising? Now, something I talked about in the last class, and I'm just repeating that, is that you have and you will be, or you must be, taking advertising and sales promotion as a compulsory advertising course, compulsory marketing course. Thus, we will not be covering everything that you take in that course. Instead, we will just focus on how you take this practice of advertising and you apply it to an international marketing scenario. Now, what do I have here? I have here basically a 5-step process that is discussed in the book for how international advertising is actually implemented. Now, the first thing I want you to look at is how the companies initiate that. So the first step they do is they tend to perform a marketing research. Again, we covered this in topic number 3. We discussed it in detail. What is marketing research? Why is it done? And how is it done? So that is actually the first preliminary step for international advertising, that you tend to first go ahead and do a marketing research for any market that you plan to enter and advertise in. Now, once your marketing research has been done, you can move on to your second step of international advertising. Now, here you want to specify the goals of communication. Goals of communication is a term here which particularly talks about why you're actually going to do the advertisement. Again, this is in detail discussed in your advertising course. However, we will highlight it here as well. Now, one of the key reasons why you want to actually highlight that what are the goals of communication is that, let's say, for example, example number 1, if let's say Albek, which is our favorite company, it wants to enter a new market like China or Russia, where it is not at all existent from before. Now, in that case scenario, their advertisement is actually to create awareness about their product, their brand, and it's to kind of introduce and make aware people about this new concept of food and so on. However, on the other hand, if Albek is going to do a similar ad here in Saudi Arabia, it doesn't make sense because people here already are aware what Albek is. So instead, what they would do is that they will try to do a reminder advertisement, meaning your message would be not to tell people what Albek is, rather kind of remind them, okay, Albek is giving you fresh food, fresh fried, fast food on the go, any message they want. Now, there are other scenarios where companies nowadays, they're trying to become more socially responsible. So their ads are nothing to do with what the product is or the services. Their ad would just be there to give a good message. Like, for example, and I will put this link for you in the Moodle, is that Coca-Cola, they're trying to spread happiness. So their message or their goal of communication is just to create a social message. So these are just some examples, and they're supposed to tell you that how do actually companies specify the goal of the communication. Again, how they're specifying the goal is coming to them from how they did the performance of marketing research and what did they learn they have to advertise. Now, once the goals of the communication are set, again, you will learn how to do that in your advertising course. We're not doing it here. The next step for international advertisers is to start developing the most effective message for the specific market segment they're targeting. Now, market segments, we've discussed them so many times before. A market segment is a particular segment in the market that has been identified based on certain criteria. Now, those criteria could be demographic, they could be based on usage practices, buying behaviors, any of those things. So again, this is based on the company's agenda, the company's portfolio. Who do they decide that, okay, this is the market segment who I want to target? Now, to give you some examples, uh, Kit Kat is a chocolate. Kit Kat is a chocolate available for all ages. They do not uh, highlight themselves or separate themselves for any specific gender or age group. However, they have noticed that youth is their best target. So you will notice any ads that they do, they tend to keep the youth, the young adult in the ad, and they try to promote it as something that is uh, classy, at the same time, it is in for the teenagers. So they're developing the best message based on the youth age. So here again, when we say develop the most effective message for the market segment, so if you're going to talk to females, you want to talk about colors, you want to put in music. If you're going to talk to men, you want to put in women, sadly, and you're going to put in loud music, you're going to put in cars, and so on. Again, in your advertising course, you will be reviewing this. So we've talked about research, we've talked about putting your goals of communication, and then now we're talking about what is the most effective message. Now, once the message has been written down, the company now moves forward to their fourth step, which is to select the most effective media. Now, media here is now referring to all forms of mediums that can be used for advertising. They range from newspapers, magazines, to billboards, posters, to even visuals, audios that are now available on street sides, your radio jingles, your TV ads, your social interaction. Yani there are no limitations now that the ad is restricted to a TV. You can show it to the people in so many different forms. Now, once your media is selected, the kind of media you will use will also dictate to you how expensive it is. Like, for example, the most expensive one is considered to be television. If you want to show your ad again and again, it is considered one of the high end or the more expensive medias. If you're going to use it on social media, it is actually considered the cheapest one. Okay, because social media's cost is literally minimal. You just spend once and you get the most return. SMSs, sending out messages, sending out emails, they have minimal cost. Putting up billboards, putting up big posters, putting up endorsement posters, those are expensive. So basically what's happening is once you're actually in the fourth step, selecting an effective media, you're actually making way for the last step. That is that you're identifying, okay, what will be your cost. So you need to start making a budget. Now, in business terms, budget is basically a breakdown of the kind of expenses you will have and the form of revenue you will generate from them, like cash inflow, outflow, and so on. So, here again, it is not just important to create a very dynamic ad. To be a successful international advertisement, you need to make sure that you have the budget for it. And your budget is going to be based on all the previous steps. So once you have done your research, come up with your communication goal, have your message ready, have selected your media, then the next thing now to do is start setting a budget. Now, basically, we're talking about how does international advertising actually initiate? How does it start? How does it come into form? We're not talking at this time and point how is it executed, meaning, okay, once you have the budget, what's next? How do you get more people to see it? That is something that is relevant to your advertising course. For us, we're talking about, okay, if you're going to go international, make sure you do these steps. The questions that I would give you. Now, first thing, the kind of question I can give you from this is that I would like you to remember these 5 steps and try to apply them to a scenario. So if, let's say, I ask you, okay, if Almarai has to be introduced in Finland, how should they go about in planning their international advertising? I'm not asking you how they're going to do the advertisement. I'm asking you how they're going to plan it. So you have to apply this like they have to, as Almarai, perform a marketing research on Finland. They have to specify the goal, which is actually they have to introduce the product. Then they have to develop the most effective message, maybe based on the local culture, maybe with the local language. Then they have to select the most effective media, meaning what are people usually actually watching? Are they listening to radio more? Are they watching TV more? Are they online more? It would give you an idea. And once you have done this research until this point, fourth point, then they can start making a budget. I don't need a message from you. I don't need a budget from you. I don't need to even know what is the goal of communication. I only need you to understand that how would you apply this process to a scenario. Okay. Now this was just a test video. I'm trying to test it out. I want you girls to watch this video and go to the Moodle and go and post as many questions as you have about this. There is a discussion board open just for this. And let us see how this works out so that if it works successfully for us, we can continue for it. Thank you, girls. I miss seeing your faces, but let's hope this works out. Thank you.